What if we told you that before the lights, the screaming fans, the stadium tours, and global stardom, each BTS member was already a showstopper? Not on stage, but in their family albums, schoolyards, and tiny classrooms where the first sparks of charm and charisma quietly bloomed. What if the very faces that now dominate billboards in Times Square and front pages of fashion magazines had, years ago, already made jaws drop just with a smile, a blink, or even an awkward kindergarten pose? Could that innocent glint in Jungkook's baby eyes hint at the fire he'd bring to world stages? Could Jimin's childhood pout foreshadow the heart-melting agyo he'd master later on? And what about Jin? Was worldwide handsome already handsome when he couldn't even spell worldwide? These are the questions that every curious army asks when they stumble upon those rare baby photos. The grainy shots, the chubby cheeks, the crooked bowl cuts, and the perfectly imperfect innocence that still somehow feels magical. This isn't just a trip down memory lane. This is a full-blown expedition into the origins of beauty, talent, and charm. A baby-faced Taehyung making goofy faces with his dog? A tiny Yoongi hiding behind his cap but still somehow managing to look like the main character? And Namjoon? Don't even get us started on the glow-up that was already glowing before the world caught on. In this heartwarming, eye-opening, and downright adorable countdown, we rank the BTS members based on how devastatingly cute and handsome they were even as kids. Not teens, not pre-debut, but full-on playground-era cartoon backpack-wearing kids. The kind of photos that make you want to scream, how is this even real? But here's the twist. This isn't just about surface-level cuteness. We dig deeper. We talk about the facial structure that already hinted at future visuals, the smiles that could light up a family room long before they lit up stadiums, and those tiny personality glimpses that said, this kid's gonna be a star. So buckle up, ARMY. You might think you've seen the cutest side of BTS, but this list might just wreck you emotionally in the best way possible. Get ready for a nostalgia-fueled roller coaster ride full of giggles, gasps, and maybe even a few tears. Who had that perfectly symmetrical baby face? Who made their teachers swoon at every school performance? Who looked like a walking children's drama prince? And who was so cute that even strangers reportedly stopped and stared? Stay with us, because what you're about to see might just change the way you look at them forever. Number 7, RM, the brainy cutie with a smile that could heal. Before he became the philosophical leader of BTS, the man who reads Nietzsche on tour buses and writes lyrics that tear through your soul, Kim Namjoon, was just a tiny boy with oversized glasses, a gentle smile, and a head full of questions. While today we celebrate him for his intellect, wordplay, and quiet confidence, back then, Namjoon was already turning heads, but in the most subtle and purest way imaginable. Not with flash or drama, but with the kind of calm, radiant innocence that lingers in your heart like a childhood lullaby. Namjoon's baby photos are the kind that make people tilt their heads and go, ah, there's this one famous picture, maybe you've seen it, where he's got the chubbiest cheeks and a bowl cut so perfectly round, it looks like it was shaped with a rice bowl. His little smile is soft, slightly bashful, and yet somehow knowing. Even as a child, he carried an aura. It wasn't loud, it wasn't flashy, but it was there. That presence, that spark. The kind of face that made teachers instinctively pick him to lead class activities, or adults compliment him with, he's such a polite young man. And yes, he wore glasses. Big ones. The kind that covered almost half his tiny face. But here's the thing. Instead of hiding him, they amplified the charm. They framed his thoughtful eyes, his gentle brows, and his perpetual expression of curiosity. You just knew he was the kid who asked about stars, planets, and why rain falls from the sky. He wasn't just cute, he was interesting. And that kind of early emotional depth? That's rare, that's golden. His mom once said that even as a little boy, Namjoon read more books than most adults, and it showed not just in his intelligence, but in how he carried himself. In his baby videos, you'll see him sitting quietly while other kids run wild, his eyes scanning the room, his mind visibly ticking. He had an old soul in a young body, and it made his cuteness feel different. Special. Like, you were looking at someone who already saw the world in colors we hadn't even named yet. And let's not forget, baby Namjoon had incredible skin. Smooth, glowing, and naturally fair, it made his photos look like they came from a skincare commercial. His lips were full and pink, his eyelashes long and soft, and his jawline even at that age already hinted at future angles. The kind of bone structure that said, just wait, I'm gonna be a model one day. But I don't even know it yet. As he grew, Namjoon's features became more distinct, but the core remained the same. That warm, humble, and thoughtful boy never really left. You see it today when he bows deeply to staff, when he explains philosophical ideas in interviews, or when he smiles that exact same smile during concerts, a smile that still carries the innocence of a boy who used to dream of being a poet. So why is he number 7? Because while some members had flashier childhood visuals, RM's was the kind that slowly, gently crept into your heart and never left. His beauty wasn't just in his face. It was in his energy, his aura. The way he made you feel, just by existing in a room, in a photo, in a moment. Namjoon as a kid wasn't just handsome. He was the kind of beautiful that makes you pause, breathe in deeply, and feel a little better about the world. He was a walking, talking, healing presence, even in toddler form. And for that, he absolutely had to be on this list. Number 6, Suga, the quiet charmer with a soft glow. If you've ever stared at Min Yoongi on stage and wondered how someone can look both icy and angelic at the same time, you should see his childhood photos. Because before he became the smooth-talking rapper with razor-sharp lyrics and sleepy charisma, little Yoongi was, well, still Yoongi, just in smaller form, with softer edges and cheeks you'd probably pay money to squish just once. There's something magical about baby Yoongi's face. It's not just that he was cute, which, let's be honest, is an understatement. It's the way his entire aura translated, even as a toddler. He was the quiet one, the observer, the one who didn't scream for attention, but somehow drew it anyway. In group photos, he often stood slightly to the side, hands folded politely, looking directly into the camera with those round, dark eyes that held a calm beyond his years. Yoongi's features were gentle. Soft, delicate eyebrows, naturally pink lips, pale porcelain skin that always seemed to glow even in old, grainy photos. And his hair? Thick, straight, and often falling messily across his forehead like the lead character in a children's fairy tale. There was an effortless symmetry to his face. No need for flashy smiles or dramatic expressions, he simply was. Like a piece of art you couldn't stop staring at because it made you feel something unspoken. And let's talk about that smile. Oh, that rare, sleepy smile. Even as a child, Yoongi didn't smile often in photos, but when he did, it felt like sunrise after a long night. Subtle, heartwarming, and real. You could practically hear the collective squeals of aunties, teachers, and neighbors whenever that tiny grin appeared. He had what people called a gentle boy face, the kind that made you want to sit next to him in class and share your cookies just so he'd look at you. But beneath that quiet charm was a boy with layers. He loved music from an early age. His parents once said he would tinker with piano keys at home before he even learned to read notes. His ears were sharp, and his hands were always tapping rhythms on tables, on toys, on anything within reach. That low-key genius, it was already bubbling under the surface, even as his face remained sweet and composed. Yoongi's cuteness wasn't loud. It wasn't the kind that made people scream at first glance. It was slower, deeper, like a song that grows more beautiful the more you listen. His childhood photos feel almost cinematic. A little boy in oversized coats, sitting on stone steps, holding a toy robot with eyes that seemed to ask, "Do you hear the music too?" And what made him even more beautiful was how real he was. No over-the-top poses, no exaggerated expressions, just Yoongi being Yoongi. Unbothered, sincere. Beautiful in the kind of way that never tried to impress, but always did anyway. He wasn't the loudest kid in the room, but he was the one you remembered, the one who left an impression long after everyone else had gone. That kind of quiet presence, that's a different kind of handsomeness. It stays with you. So, while Yoongi may be number 6 on this list, make no mistake, his childhood visuals weren't just cute. They were hauntingly soft, endearingly calm, and unmistakably Suga, the boy who didn't need to speak to be unforgettable. Number 5. J-Hope, the sunshine baby who glowed without trying. Have you ever seen a photo so full of joy that it made you smile without even realizing it? That's what it's like looking at childhood pictures of Jung Ho-seok, better known today as BTS's energetic, endlessly charismatic dance machine, J-Hope. But back then, before the stadium lights and viral dance breaks, He was just a radiant little boy from Gwangju whose entire existence seemed to shine from the inside out. J-Hope as a child was the kind of kid who didn't just enter a room, he lit it up. There's an energy in his childhood photos that's almost hard to describe. His eyes sparkled like he knew 1,000 secrets and was waiting for the perfect moment to share just one. His cheeks were round and perfectly pinchable. His smile wide and toothy, unapologetically joyous. You could practically hear the giggles through the pictures. But here's the thing, he wasn't just cute, he was magnetic. In every group photo, your eyes somehow end up on him. Not because he's trying to be the center, but because his presence makes you feel. Even in his earliest photos, there's something in his expression that screams, "I'm gonna make people happy one day." It's that inner spark, that raw sunshine energy that was already radiating from his tiny frame long before anyone ever called him Hobie. And oh, those expressions. Baby Hoseok had a face that could change moods faster than a K-drama plot twist. From cheeky grins to pouty puppy eyes, from dramatic gasps to sleepy yawns, his range was award-worthy even as a toddler. He was a born performer, and everyone around him knew it. His family often recalled how he loved to dance even before he could talk properly, mimicking TV moves with surprising precision, his body already understanding rhythm like it was written into his DNA. And let's not forget the fashion. Little J-Hope rocked every outfit like it was a runway moment. From oversized jackets to colorful sweaters and tiny snapbacks, he always looked like the coolest kid on the playground without even trying. His style wasn't just about clothes, it was about confidence, a natural flair, a vibe. But beyond the giggles and glam, there was something even deeper that made Hoseok's childhood beauty stand out: his heart. You can see it in the way he looked at the camera, not for attention, but for connection. There's kindness in his gaze, a warmth that isn't performative but deeply real. Even then, he seemed to care, to feel, to carry the same empathetic spirit that armies now know and love him for. There's this one particular photo famous among longtime fans where Hoseok, maybe 5 or 6, is holding a birthday cake with a look of such pure pride and delight that it melts you instantly. His ears slightly red from excitement, eyes twinkling like stars, and that huge smile stretched across his entire face. That image? That's Hobie. That's who he's always been. Even his teachers reportedly adored him, not just for his smarts or his energy, but for how he made others feel. He had that rare, precious gift of making people comfortable, safe, happy, and it showed in every gesture, every look, every photo. So while J-Hope takes number 5 on this list, don't let the number fool you. His handsomeness as a child wasn't about sharp angles or brooding stares. It was about light, laughter, life. He was the boy who turned mundane moments into memories, who walked into a room and made it feel like spring. And even now, that sunshine hasn't faded, it's only grown brighter. Number 4. Jimin, the angel-faced doll who made everyone say "I-goo." If there were ever a child who looked like he'd been sculpted by soft clouds and baby cherubs, it was Park Jimin. We're not even exaggerating. Before he was captivating the world with contemporary dance and velvet vocals, Jimin was a walking, talking doll so sweet-looking, you'd think he stepped straight out of a children's commercial or a fairy tale picture book. The kind of kid whose face made strangers stop, smile, and say, "He's too pretty to be real." From the earliest photos, there was something utterly ethereal about Jimin. His skin? Milky, flawless, and luminous like porcelain. His lips? Naturally, pouty with a hint of coral pink, like he'd accidentally applied baby lip tint before heading out to kindergarten. And those eyes, large, round, and sparkling with wonder, looked like they held tiny stars. Even the angles of his face were soft but symmetrical. He didn't have to do anything to be breathtaking. He just was. There's this legendary photo that armies love Jimin, barely 4 years old, in a little white button-up, grinning so brightly you'd swear the sun borrowed light from him. His hair was always neatly combed, often in a classic Korean toddler cut short at the sides, a little fluff up top, like he was born ready for a CF shoot. His cheeks were the real MVPs though, perfect little mochi puffs, round and bouncy, making him look forever pinch-worthy. But the beauty of baby Jimin wasn't just in his visuals, it was in his movements. According to his family, even before he formally trained, Jimin had this innate grace. He'd sway to music on TV, leap through the house with his tiny arms extended like wings, and spin in circles with a balance most adults would envy. His body knew elegance. He was a born performer, but not in a look-at-me way. More like, this is how I express love and joy. And that joy? It showed in every photo. His expressions were always animated, surprised, delighted, focused, giggly. He had the rare ability to convey feeling through the tiniest tilt of his head or blink of his eyes. Even when he looked serious, there was a softness behind it, a vulnerability, like he could break into laughter or tears at any second and both would feel like poetry. What's even more heartwarming is how much of his current self was already visible back then. Jimin's love for others? Already there. His teachers often said he was one of the most considerate and polite kids in class, offering his seat, sharing his snacks, helping classmates with their jackets. He didn't just look like an angel, he acted like one. And that duality? That stunning combination of outer beauty and inner grace, it made him unforgettable. And can we talk about the fashion? Jimin's childhood outfits always had a certain flair. From little suspenders and sweaters to puffy coats and scarves, he looked like he was styled by a K-drama wardrobe team even when he was just on his way to preschool. Every candid photo, whether eating ice cream or playing with his younger brother, looked like a scene from a family movie. He was effortlessly aesthetic. His mother, who often shared tidbits of his childhood, said he'd always pose for the camera, but in a way that felt natural, like he knew he was photogenic but never acted cocky. That self-awareness, that quiet confidence, added a layer of charm that went beyond surface-level cuteness. You could see it in the tilt of his chin, the glint in his eye, like he had dreams bigger than anyone could imagine. So why is Jimin number 4? Because his childhood visuals weren't just about being adorable, they were about feeling. Looking at baby Jimin makes you feel tender, like your heart's being softly squeezed. He wasn't the loudest or the flashiest, but he made you feel safe, warm, understood. His beauty was delicate, emotional, and full of soul. And honestly, that might be the most powerful kind of beauty there is. Number 3. Jungkook, the golden boy who looked like a drama prince since day one. What happens when you combine doe eyes, a perfectly rounded baby face, soft flowing hair, and the kind of natural charisma usually reserved for childhood movie stars? You get Jungkook, the maknae of BTS, who even as a child looked like he was plucked out of a fairy tale drama as the sweet, brave, slightly mischievous prince every viewer would fall in love with. No kidding, baby Jungkook was so absurdly handsome that even his most casual childhood photos feel like official portraits from a coming-of-age film set. Before he became the global phenomenon with golden vocals, golden visuals, and a golden heart, Jungkook was already making heads turn in Busan without even realizing it. His childhood charm was a unique blend of angelic softness and youthful confidence. And somehow, even in the most candid, unfiltered photos, his features looked refined. His jawline was still round and babyish, sure, but his eyes, those huge, expressive, sparkly brown eyes, had the depth of someone much older, as if he knew things, as if he felt deeply, even as a toddler. There's one picture every seasoned ARMY knows. Jungkook in a school uniform, standing stiffly yet adorably, his tiny backpack almost bigger than his body, his hair parted neatly, and his face just glowing. Not the kind of glow you get from lighting or filters, no, it was that natural luminescence some kids just have. His skin was flawless, his lips heart-shaped and naturally tinted, and his expressions effortlessly charming. Whether he was caught mid-laugh or focused intently on a toy, his face was always camera-ready. He didn't try to look perfect, he just did. And let's be honest, he was a cool kid, not in a bad boy way, but in that naturally confident way that other kids are drawn to. He was energetic, but polite, curious, but grounded, and always moving. According to his older brother, Jungkook was the kind of kid who could climb anything, jump off anything, and come back with a big grin asking for more. That fearless spirit, it translated to his visuals too. Even when he got a scrape or messed up his hair, he still looked adorable, like one of those mischievous but lovable anime characters who never sit still but always steal your heart. And let's not forget his smile. Oh, that smile. Jungkook's childhood grin had the power to disarm armies, pun intended. Wide, radiant, with slightly crooked baby teeth and that tiny little dimple that peeked out just enough to drive people crazy. It was the kind of smile that made relatives spoil him, teachers remember him, and strangers feel the urge to say, he's going to be something special one day. And guess what? He was. Fashion-wise, he was often dressed in comfy, sporty clothes, hoodies, joggers, baseball caps, the kind of style that looked effortlessly trendy even before trends were a thing. But occasionally, you'd catch him in a more formal outfit for school or family photos, and suddenly he'd look like the heir of a Chibo family, suave, reserved, and already handsome beyond his years. But what made baby Jungkook truly unforgettable wasn't just his looks, it was his energy. His kindness, his eagerness to learn, his ability to listen intently, to mimic dance moves from TV, to hum along with songs at family gatherings. He was the kind of child who didn't just exist in a space, he filled it, brightened it, made it feel alive. One family friend once said that Jungkook could make even the quietest room feel happy just by walking in. That's the power he had. Even before BTS, even before fame, he was magnetic. Not because he demanded attention, but because he embodied joy. A joy that showed in his eyes, in his tiny hands gripping toys, in his excited claps when something delighted him. So why is he number 3? Because Jeon Jungkook's childhood visuals were the kind you don't forget. He wasn't just handsome, he was captivating. The kind of cute that made people stare. The kind of adorable that made people say, this kid needs to be on TV. And now, he's on every screen in the world. A full circle moment, beautifully predicted by those baby photos we still can't stop looking at. Number 2, V, the ethereal baby who looked like he walked out of a painting. If you could bottle innocence, blend it with classical beauty, and paint it with the brushstrokes of fantasy, you'd probably end up with baby Kim Taehyung, known to the world now as V of BTS. But long before he was mesmerizing millions with his deep baritone voice and unmatched stage presence, Taehyung was a little boy from Daegu with eyes that didn't just sparkle, they spoke. Eyes that looked like they held ancient wisdom and childlike wonder all at once. Taehyung's childhood visuals weren't just adorable, they were unreal, almost mythical. His face had this haunting symmetry, a delicate balance of softness and structure that artists spend years trying to sketch. Big, deep-set eyes framed by long lashes that many girls would envy, a small, pouty mouth with lips so naturally plump and pink that you'd think he'd borrowed them from a cartoon cherub. A button nose, high cheekbones, and skin so fair and smooth it looked like it was permanently bathed in soft candlelight. But more than his features, it was the aura. Taehyung didn't just look pretty, he looked enchanted. Every candid photo from his childhood feels like a scene from a dreamy Studio Ghibli film. Whether he was crouching in front of a rice field, gazing up at clouds, or laughing while hugging a stray puppy, his expressions were always cinematic, like he was born to be in stories, not just live them. One of the most famous Baby V photos among ARMY shows him around 3 or 4 years old, wearing a little newsboy cap, with flushed cheeks and this curious look in his eyes, half mischief, half wonder. It's the kind of face that instantly melts your heart. There's no filter, no dramatic pose, just a boy who looks like he wandered out of a fantasy novel into real life. And even as a toddler, he had those trademark expressions, head tilted, eyes wide, mouth slightly parted. Like he was always in the middle of discovering something extraordinary. His family often said that Taehyung was a unique kid, not just in appearance, but in behavior. He was the type who would stop to talk to animals, draw faces in the dirt, and hum lullabies to his baby cousins. His grandmother, who raised him during much of his early years, described him as affectionate, sensitive, and a little prince who always tried to make others laugh. You could see that in the way he held his posture, in the small acts of kindness in home videos, offering snacks, clapping for his friends, or even gently wiping tears off a classmate's face during a kindergarten event. And don't even get us started on the fashion. Little Taehyung could rock anything: overalls, vintage sweaters, cute berets, or traditional hanbok. He somehow made everything look like it belonged in a high-fashion editorial spread for toddlers. The way he held himself, even when doing something as simple as standing next to his dad, was elegant, graceful, regal. He was the kind of child that made people pause and say, that boy is going to be someone. And they were right. Because even now, decades later, that same ethereal beauty remains. But back then, it was untouched by styling teams, filters, or stage lights. It was raw, pure, and instinctive. Baby Taehyung didn't need angles. Every side was his angle. And even more breathtaking was the softness behind those visuals, the kindness, the empathy, the goofy little laugh that has stayed with him all these years. So why is V number 2? Because his childhood visuals were the kind that didn't just make you say, aw, they made you feel like you were looking at something precious, something rare, a once-in-a-generation kind of beauty that didn't even realize its own power. And even now, when we revisit those baby photos, they don't just warm our hearts, they transport us. into the world of little Taeyoung, where everything was wonder and beauty wasn't just seen, it was felt. Number 1. Jin, the born-to-be worldwide handsomeness whose baby face was already a national treasure. Let's be clear. Some people grow into their looks. Some get blessed by puberty, and some glow up after years of styling and camera training. But Kim Seokjin? He was born ready. The minute baby Jin opened his eyes and blinked at the world, it was like the universe whispered, "Yup, that's the one." Because what we see on stage today, the elegance, the royal visuals, the flawless symmetry that didn't magically appear during his teen years, it was always there, hidden beneath tiny onesies, nestled in the arms of his parents, dazzling the world one chubby-cheeked grin at a time. Baby Jin was the definition of jaw-dropping. His features? Ridiculously perfect. We're talking about doe eyes so big and clear, you could almost see a reflection in them. His double eyelids already defined. His nose? Straight and sharp even in toddlerhood. His lips? Cupid bow perfection. And that skin? Milky, blemish-free, and glowing as if lit by some inner spotlight. He was the kind of baby that made photographers cancel shoots and say, "We found the muse." And yes, he had cheeks. Those iconic, squishable, legendary baby cheeks that made everyone from relatives to strangers want to pinch them just once. His face had this beautiful oval shape even as a kid, and no matter what angle you photographed him, from side, front, candid, posed, he looked like he was born to be in magazines. And we haven't even mentioned that smile yet. The same heart-flipping, room-lighting, slightly mischievous smile that we know today, it was already in action when he was toddling around his living room in fuzzy socks. His family often said that strangers would stop them in the market just to comment on how handsome he was. Not cute like most babies, handsome. That's a whole different league. His kindergarten teachers reportedly referred to him as "our little prince." He didn't even need to speak. He'd just walk in, and everyone would look. It wasn't arrogance, it was presence. His face just had that effect. And Jin wasn't just pretty, he was poised. Even as a child, he carried himself with grace. In family videos, you'd see him sitting upright at dinner tables, clapping politely at birthday parties, gently holding his cousins during group photos. He had the energy of a baby celebrity who didn't even know how famous he looked. It's no wonder he was scouted on the streets later on. Some people just glow with star energy, even when they're still learning to spell their own name. There's this one famous baby photo that's basically become a meme in the fandom: tiny Jin in a tiny sweater, holding a toy phone to his ear, with the most ridiculously stunning expression. His brows are raised just enough to make him look intrigued, his lips slightly parted in this "what did you say" moment, and his hair perfectly tousled like he just walked off a set. It's not edited. It's not staged. It's just Jin. Being Jin, being flawless. And let's talk about personality. Because yes, he looked like a prince, but he acted like a sunshine boy. His parents described him as warm, goofy, and endlessly affectionate. He'd make silly faces to cheer up his brother. He'd sing cartoon jingles with full emotion. He'd comfort animals and offer food to friends without being asked. It was this combination of killer visuals and a heart of gold that made people fall in love with him. Even back then, he was, quite literally, a real-life fairy tale character. The boy with movie star looks, Disney, prince manners, and enough charm to melt every camera lens in existence. And while all the BTS members were undeniably adorable as kids, Jin's visuals stood out in a way that felt inevitable. Like, he wasn't just going to be handsome someday, he already was. At age 3, at age 5, at age 7, the blueprint of beauty was already printed across his face. So why is he number 1? Because even before the world knew him, even before he knew himself, Jin embodied the essence of worldwide handsome. He wasn't just a good-looking kid. He was breathtaking. He was unforgettable. He was the kind of child who would grow up to stop traffic with a single glance, and he's been doing that one frame at a time ever since. Baby Jin wasn't just cute. He was iconic, legendary. And now, the world is simply catching up.